Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I decided that I wanted to continue an earlier episode. Earlier today, we were doing Dr. Boyce Exposed, where I told you guys to ask me any question, and I'll answer that question as truthfully as I can. And and what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer some of those questions, but I'm also going to have a conversation about sort of how to work together. I think that in the Black community, one of the things that we struggle with is the ability to form coalitions, the ability to organize around something, where everybody benefits, the ability to kind of work together. And I've kind of watched that. I was watching an Avengers movie, and I saw in this movie that at the end of the movie, I was looking at the credits at the end, and I could not believe like how many people there were on these closing credits. There was literally thousands of people. I could have swore it was 2,000 names that came up that all worked together for this common goal of making this movie. And I'm fascinated by stuff like that, because I'm like, wow, these white people really work together well. Like they really get a lot of shit done. And I wish Black people could do the same thing. So anyway, so here's the deal. Here's what was on my mind. I was thinking about, just, when you're working and you're trying to build something, you're trying to organize people, you're trying to pull together, a coalition on any level for anything you're trying to do, whether it's community organizing or, trying to go and, start a business or make a movie or whatever. You have to be able to resolve your disputes. If you cannot resolve disputes, then you're going to have a bunch of people fighting. And when you have a bunch of people fighting, then nothing's getting built. Fighting in warfare is built on destruction. Destruction does not lead to growth or progress. Destruction is the opposite of building. So for Black people, I really encourage you to really think about that as you talk about what it means to build with other Black people. Now, let me go in here and find a couple of tips on conflict resolution. So you can, for those of you who just want to get the short part of the video, let me give this to you real quick. If you're a leader and you're looking to resolve conflicts, I found this article on aboutleaders.com, and they give some tips to resolving conflicts as a leader. If you have two people that are underneath you or that are working for you or whatever, and they have a conflict, how do you resolve that conflict as a leader? Well, the tips they give are: one, stay neutral. Be honest about your own feelings. If you find you're struggling to remain neutral, consider asking another manager or even a trained facilitator to take your place. Encourage each of the parties to acknowledge the validity of the other party's point of view. Two, acknowledge the problem. This can be especially difficult when the conflict may seem to be a minor issue. Remember that what seems like a minor annoyance to you is probably a significant issue to the people who are in the conflict. Be careful to avoid minimizing or belittling the severity of the issue, and take time to acknowledge its importance. Three, focus on the problem, not the people. Virtually every workplace has difficult employees. Indeed, these may be individuals who are often in conflict with coworkers or managers. As the conflict resolution resolution facilitator, is crucial you and the other parties look beyond difficult or disagreeable personalities and focus on the problem at hand. Do not use accusatory language or engage in personal attacks, and intercede if the parties do so. Let the parties know that you believe they're motivated by good intentions rather than a desire to get at each other. Four, seek common ground. Although there are many recognized conflict resolution models, the most successful in the workplace settings are those that encourage the parties to identify areas of agreement and use those as a basis for creating an acceptable compromise solution. Five, be patient but decisive. Patience is critical for the leader. People in conflict need to tell their stories. If you make a hasty decision, at least one party, and possibly both, will feel they haven't been heard. Once an acceptable solution has been determined, however, management needs to move decisively to implement whatever changes are called for. Now, why did I read that to you guys? I read it to you because a lot of you want to start businesses, and a lot of you want to start businesses with Black people. And as Aaron Magruder on the Boondocks said in the show, he said, y'all know some Black people just crazy. Some of our people just been damaged, struggling, head messed up, all over the place, just hard to work with, very difficult people because of the trauma that we've gone through. And so if you want to build a business or build an empire, you got to find ways to resolve conflicts. It is so hard. It is such a fight. I've had conflicts blow up and go crazy, and people get, that I worked with get mad and just go, right? But the thing about it is somebody's got to stay cool, because if two if somebody goes crazy and then you go crazy with them, then y'all just look like a couple stupid, crazy Negroes who ain't never going to accomplish shit. So ultimately, I encourage you to learn conflict resolution in your workplace if you build your business. Second thing I would say, so let me read this second thing. There's another set of conflict resolution skills they have for people who are actually in the conflict. And this is from smallbusiness.cron.com, I guess from the Houston Chronicle, the small business section. So here are the ways to resolve conflicts if you are involved in conflict in the workplace. One, you got to listen. The key to resolving conflict within an organization is the ability to listen. Each side should have the option to explain its role in the conflict and then listen to others involved. The next is teamwork. Despite conflict, always encourage your staff to pull together as a team and work it out and get back to work. So team building activities can be good. Self-awareness. You have to be aware of the role you play in the conflict. If you always think everything is always somebody else's fault or what somebody else did to you, then eventually you're going to get kicked out of the group. Nobody's going to want to work around you. I know people in Hollywood that I've worked with who don't understand why nobody will work with them. Like, why they can be the biggest star in the world, but ain't nobody gonna fuck with them because they know they're crazy. They're narcissists. They think everything's about them. They want all the attention, and they're always fighting with people. People like that are not fun to work with. Better focus. In the end, it all comes down to focus the team has on the work at hand. As you guide your staff through conflict resolution as things come up, keep in mind that the result should be a total recommitment and focus on the work to be done to keep the company moving forward. So what I would say is that if you're picking people to work with, picking people you want to start businesses with, people you want to start a family with, people that you want to deal with in the workplace or might have to deal with, make sure that these are people that first of all, it helps to be able to check their track record, see, how they are in general. If they're always fighting, if somebody's always fighting with everybody all the time, they always mad, always pissed off, eventually they're going to get pissed off at you. Eventually they're going to be fighting you. It's inevitable. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. Talk. You got to communicate. Communication is everything in a relationship. So be wary of people who will talk about you but won't talk to you. So when when somebody walks out of the room, they got a whole lot to say, like, oh, well, that person did this, and let me tell you what that motherfucker did. That motherfucker did this, but then the person's around, they become quiet like a church mouse. People like that, they tend to create mess, but they're not quick to clean up mess. Because the way you clean up a mess is you talk to each other, you communicate with each other consistently, and you work it out. That's what the Nation of Islam does. That's why you don't see a lot of conflict. You see a lot of unity in the nation that you don't see in other parts of the Black community, because I think that they pretty much require themselves to get together and talk it out. But if somebody is quick to talk about you but not talk to you, then that's a person you got to watch out for, because people like that, what they'll do is they'll become passive aggressive, or they'll go and they'll spread rumors, or they'll go and they'll believe that something you did was all about them, and they will never confront you and say, well, you did that thing, was that about me? Like, they won't even do that. They'll just go and make an assumption, and assumptions are how relationships get broken down. Like, people will see something happen and they'll think it's about them, and oh, well, you did that and you must have been thinking this and blah blah blah. And my thought is like, well, why don't you ask them? Why don't you call them up on the phone? Why don't you talk to them? So that's why even when I've had, situations like I've seen stuff, on the web, even where I've had a couple of people that I've worked with really closely people I worked with that I really wanted to help a lot, who would get pissed off and talk about me. I've always said every single one of those people has my phone number. And if you are too cowardly to call me on the phone and tell me how you feel, then your opinion is not valid, because you're not a person who works to resolve disputes. You're a person who wants to keep up mess, or you're a person that wants to build drama, which tells me that it's good that we're not working together, because if you are a drama king or a drama queen, then you're not going to be a builder. You're a destroyer. Drama kings and drama queens are destroyers. You want communicators. Communicators are builders, because communicators basically get together with you and they say, look, we got this issue and I need us to resolve this shit, because we got something to do. We got work to do. We got to build. We got to do this for the Black community. So let's figure out how we're going to make this work. That's what the way a builder thinks. A builder looks at you, even if they're mad at you, they'll look at you as a partner to resolve the difference so that you can maintain the coalition and get something done. A destroyer is a person who will walk away and make a bunch of assumptions, talk to a bunch of people behind your back and say horrible things about you, but never, but when you call them to talk to them about it, they don't pick up the phone or whatever. That was my issue. It's funny, I just being transparent, when I worked with Yvette Carnell for many years, and Yvette Carnell had all these things to say about me, and I would call Yvette, she'd never pick up the phones. And I'd invite her, I'd say, well, come on, let's debate this. Let's get on the channel. Let's work this out. Let's find our common ground. She didn't want to debate. So people like that, they're afraid of confrontation, but they become like these digital gangsters, I'm gonna go on my YouTube channel and talk crazy, and because nobody's challenging whatever's coming out of my mouth. Like, it's easy for me to say these things when nobody's challenging me, but if somebody's right there saying, like, I don't remember that happening, like, really, is that your interpretation? Then that makes it a little bit more difficult. So I think at the end of the day, and I've just thrown myself out there in terms of using my own examples and things I've had to work through. I'm just telling you, Black people, if you don't learn to get along, you ain't never going to accomplish shit. The number one asset that the white man has over you, the number one weapon he has that he can use to destroy you, is the fact that y'all love to fight each other like crazy. And what I realized is, I said, if I'm a Black man that wants to build, I can't spend too much time fighting Black people. Some people, I go out of my way. I might say a little something, but for the most part, I want to just move forward. I want to do great things together. I want to make things happen. Even I had my little spat with Umar Johnson back in the day. If Umar called me tomorrow, I would pick up the phone and say, okay, how are we going to work past this bullshit and figure out a way to partner and make something happen, right? Because the community, the goal has to be bigger than the ego. But sometimes egos get big, and it's really fascinating to see how this internet economy has built up people's egos, where they get a little bit of a following on YouTube, and they almost feel like they're running some major corporation or something now because you got 3,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel or whatever, and suddenly people are listening to you for the first time. So you kind of just scream and rant and stuff like that and attack. But I really think that, we need to work together. Why not form a coalition? Black YouTubers should unite and come together and say, we're going to have a monthly meeting and talk about what the agenda items are going to be, or a weekly conference call, and figure out, okay, this week we're all going to talk about this. We're all going to talk about that. We're going to come to each other's channels and help each other out, work together. Because if you don't learn to organize, Black people, you're never going to get anywhere. You're never going to build any businesses. You're never going to be respected. You're always going to be seen as a bunch of damn savages that just want to eat each other alive and eat each other's children and, whatever, and lob nuclear missiles at each other and crabs in a barrel. That's what it is. So that's my thing. I would just say, for those of you who want to build, look for Black people who are builders. And the ability to resolve conflicts is the most important aspect of relationships. Like, if you get married, don't pay attention to how somebody treats you when you're getting along. Pay attention to how they behave when you're not getting along. Pay attention to how they behave when they're pissed. If somebody gets pissed and they burn the building down, then that's not a person to work with, because that person is never going to have a building for very long, because everybody gets pissed. Everybody has a day. Like, even with my team I work with, I have people I've worked with for years. I've had days where I've been just fired up, mad as hell at somebody. But every time I talk to them, I always step to them with a type of respect, where I don't really want this to get too bad, because if it gets too bad, then both of us suffer. Or that Black woman I told you that y'all know that I'm always spending my time with, I always speak to her with respect, no matter how mad. There's no level of anger I can have toward her that would make me come on here and blast her and talk crazy about her, or go to other people and talk crazy about her, or would have me talking crazy to her. Nothing. If I have an issue, then you bring that shit up with respect. You don't bring that shit because she ain't got to be next to me. She ain't got to be in this relationship with me. She's a beautiful woman. A lot of men would love to be right up next to her. So who the fuck do I think I am to think that I'm so important that I have the right to talk to that woman with anything less than the dignity that she deserves? So my point is to say, that's the key. There's some of those keys, and that was just on my mind. That was my thought for today. Business is nothing but relationships. Building a strong business. A business, if you look at the definition of a corporation is defined, if I'm not mistaken, as a nexus of relationships. A nexus of relationships. It's a bunch of people who just figured out how to get together and have the same agenda and work together toward one common cause. Right? So if you cannot handle relationships, then you will probably fail at anything you do, because you can't do it by yourself, right? You just can't. All right. So anyway, I'm about to go, guys. Make that conversation into what you want. I know that, when you're out in the public eye, people speculate and they say, "Oh, what about you and so and this person, that person?" That's fine. That's, but people can think what they want about it. But at the end of the day, and maybe some of it's right, right? Maybe some of it's not totally incorrect. But at the same time, anybody that I've ever had an issue with, one thing I remind myself of is that pretty much everyone I've ever had an issue with knows that they can call me and have a respectful conversation, because I will not get disrespectful with them, or they can always come on my YouTube channel and we can talk it out. That's always something that door is always open. I would love to have Umar Johnson on my YouTube channel. I think that would be like the greatest conversation ever. So if you know Umar and you see him on the street, just say, Dr. Boyce said the door is wide open. You can always come in. And I've even worked with people who said, is it okay if I invite Umar in? Vicky Dillard, I work with Vicky on Fly Nubian Queen. She said, I'm gonna bring Umar in. What do you think about that? I said, absolutely, bring him in. He's a smart man. Why wouldn't you want to bring him in? So that's my way of keeping my focus and not making it about me. You can't get to the point where you think that because you got a little clout or whatever that it's all about you, because that's when you start failing. That's when you start looking stupid. All right. So anyway, hit the thumbs up button before you go. Please hit the thumbs up button. Please share the video and all that good stuff. And also, if you want to support our cause for intelligent Black media, please go to intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. You can also get a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, by going to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. And KK says, I love your content. Well, thank you, KK. Well, I love you too. I appreciate you very much. So I'm out of here, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you soon. Peace.